So we were talking about how we're going to talk about food in America versus Mexico, because I'm originally from Mexico. But we can even talk about the difference between food in America versus the rest of the world. Because I was living here in Texas, and my brother at the same time was living in Germany. And we used to go to the grocery store and buy the same food.
Because that's what you
Like,
grew up with, right? You're just, buying the kind of foods that you would normally eat.
yeah, I mean, I remember that very specifically. I went to the store and bought kefir,
Mm.
and he went to the store and bought kefir because it's something that like both countries have, even if we're overseas. And we were comparing the nutritional facts, and they were so different. Like
Mhm.
my kefir was 140 calories per serving,
Mm.
and his kefir was like half of it or less.
Mm.
In calories, nutritional facts were different. It's
Also, a lot more added ingredients usually in America. No, that isn't. I don't think that's for all brands. There's some brands that they really try to prioritize being clean and not using a lot of chemicals. But then there's other brands. If you're not looking at the labels, you don't really know what you're consuming.
right. Like there's some products that have added ingredients to keep them stable from spoiling or whatever, and that's okay. But whenever they're adding, like for instance, cornstarch, or certain ingredients that are just to keep your body from craving more, that's when it's like, you know what? I don't know about this. I don't know, Rick.
Yeah, to make it more filling, but also to because I think Americans like, I guess, like the thick kind of more texture of food sometimes. Like I
Yeah.
noticed that American sour cream is a lot thicker than a Mexican sour cream. It's also a lot thicker than if you made sour cream yourself, it wouldn't be as thick as American sour cream. We add thickeners to it because I don't know why, because we want it to stay still, and I don't know why.
And I said cornstarch and I meant to say corn syrup.
Oh, corn syrup.
Yes. But
They add both sometimes, depending.
yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever what you were saying about textures and flavor, yes, I felt it. And I have this story from Mexico City. I moved to Texas for a month, and then I moved to New York City. Well, outside of New York City. And I lived with a family there. They were Puerto Ricans. And I remember that food tastes different. I remember about the American flavors that you were talking about. I remember that I was talking with one of the members of the family that I lived with, and I was describing some kind of desserts in Mexico, because in Mexico there are places where you go and they serve you a complete meal for like $5.
Still,
And
even now?
yes, even now, yes, like you go there and they give you soup, and they give you salad, and they
And
give
it's not
you
junk food. It's not
no,
like, yeah.
no, it's usually the menu is like the frame of the menu is soup, salad, uh, maybe rice, uh, and the entree like a stew or steak or chicken or something like that, and then flavored water like horchata, jamaica,
Horchata. Yeah, that's
uh,
rice, right?
yes, or
And
limeade,
Jamaica, the hibiscus tea, that's really great for
hibiscus
your
tea.
circulation and your heart.
Yes, or like not lemonade, because we use, to me
Limes.
it's limeade, yes,
Yeah.
limeade, and then sometimes it's limeade with chia inside.
Ah,
And
yeah.
then they also give you a little bit of like a little treat as a dessert, jello, fruit, uh, just like some little kind of maybe
Dessert.
simple dessert.
But it's small. It's not like this huge, thing, right?
Yes,
Like a,
exactly.
like a triple scoop of ice cream banana split. That should be shared with a family of
Yes,
six or
exactly.
something. I think
Yes. So when I was
my opinion.
telling him this and describing the kinds of dessert that I was used to and that I was craving, he was like, girl, there's a dessert? Oh my gosh, that's so sad. And he was like, how about this chocolate with ice, like ice cream molten cake? And how about this other thing? Like, and they were to me like too much to my taste buds. They were too much. And I could be like, all right, I will get 2 spoonfuls of that, but that's
Yeah,
it.
right. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, now it's not that story. Like you give me an ice cream molten cake and I can eat it all.
Oh no, 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 don't
But because
change.
I'm used to
You
that
become
now.
Americanized. No, that's not good.
I've been here for 10 years. But anyways, for instance, Reese's Pieces, like peanut butter and outside of the US,
Uh-huh.
is not really a thing. Uh
Yeah, yeah.
we maybe know it, but it's not like,
It's an
oh,
American food.
PBJs or,
Yeah.
you know, and Reese's Pieces were too much for my taste buds. They still are. Like I like them, but it's too much. So what happened to me when I moved from Mexico City to New York, I was still eating the same um, chicken, pork, rice, veggies. But I noticed that the chicken breasts that I was eating were ginormous
Mm,
and they tasted good. But I think because of the hormones, my
yeah.
body started to change.
Mm,
From a slim girl, I was like at 127 pounds. I wouldn't say that I got fat, but I got big
big. Yeah.
and I gained 20 pounds in about 10 months.
Mm.
Uh,
Eating the same diet, or so you thought. It was just that it was American version of the diet
yes,
instead of, and it wasn't the proportions, right? You weren't eating bigger portions.
I was not that I am aware of. I was
You weren't
not eating
trying to,
bigger
anyways. Yeah.
portions. Yeah, because another thing about American culture is that the portions are so big. Uh,
Yes.
while growing up, my dad used to like to drive. So from Mexico City, drive to San Antonio in Texas, and then all the way to California, because I have an aunt there. And usually when we were here, we would just split some plates because they were really big. And
Yeah.
we would go back to Mexico with a bunch of pounds on us. And I think it's because of that, because of the hormones, or because of the portions, and because
Yes.
of
And the additives that they
the
put in food.
additives. Yeah. And how the food is paired, like, oh, you eat corn and cornbread and uh, green beans, and all those are carbs, even though they're like veggies and whatnot, they're all carbs.
Yeah, corn is primarily carbohydrates. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, anyways, I gained a bunch of weight in New York. I was not really fat, but I was
Thick.
big.
Yeah, thick.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I was thick, and it was too cold for me, so I decided to move back to Mexico City. And the moment I moved back, I remember that the first meal I had was something that my brother made for me, and it was a chicken veggie soup.
Mm.
And it tasted so different and so light. Like I was blown away. I was like, oh, it's so different.
Because it was fresh. I bet that even the meat that he used was freshly slaughtered, and processed. He probably bought it from the market, in the
That
neighborhood, or right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another thing. You can go to the grocery store and buy veggies and buy, the chicken or the meat, whatever, like we do here. But you can also go to the butchery because there's one in every corner. You can go to the butchery and you can go to the veggie little store that are local. And when I moved back to Mexico City and I started eating the same amount of food, the same types of food, I went back to normal. So another thing that happened to me while living in New York with that food is that my hormones started to change. Like my period started to change. I was not very regular at that time. Is that okay if I talk about periods?
Yeah. No, yeah.
And so I was not regular at that time, but I started to be more irregular. And sometimes I was like, oh, it's been 2 months and there's no way on earth that I could be pregnant. So what's going on? And then whenever it came, it was so much that like the heavy flow pads were not enough. It was a pain. And it was like for a long time, really heavy periods. I don't remember if they were very painful. But when I moved back to Mexico, they started to be regular again.
Yeah. It's so, what a lot of people don't know, well, I think it's more and more people know about it, but in the US, it's very common for meat, especially beef, to be treated with growth hormones to increase the size and, just for production purposes. And these hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone can disrupt our body's endocrine system. And this can lead to bloating, like you experienced, and water retention, which is also bloating, and just actual water retention maybe all over the body. Your face can get fatter, your arms, your legs, and weight fluctuations. And in Mexico, livestock regulations, they may limit or eliminate the use of these hormones. Also in Europe, or they just don't use them. Maybe they don't need regulation necessarily, but the industry isn't as profit driven. Not that it's not profit driven, but they're just not like crazy profit driven. Like every last cent, as much as we can make. There's a lot more local farmers and smaller farms that produce the meat, so they don't have to worry about maximizing the production process. And so so the meat can actually be easier to digest and also just be better for you, not filled with all these extra hormones. Some people, I'm about to say something very controversial right now, but some people think that the hormones can even influence a sexual preference.
Mm.
I don't know. This is what I heard from someone who used to work for the butchering industry, I guess. Also, the quality of the food, even if it's the same food, but in the US, it might be more processed and have more preservatives and artificial flavors. I mean, in the US, we have scientists that work on perfecting the flavor, making sure that it activates our glands in a certain way and makes it addictive, and also stabilizers so that it can last in the
Mm-hmm.
grocery store shelves longer. Because Americans, sometimes they're more lazy. We don't want to go to the store all the time. We don't want to walk a lot. And so it can contribute to digestive issues because of all these preservatives. So in Mexico and in Europe, they have a lot more regulations against the use of harmful additives. And so the food is often fresher, less processed, less food coloring, which can also affect our minds and children's minds. And that's why another reason, this food contributes to things like ADD and autism and all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I think Mexicans are, I have Mexican relatives, they care about preparing things from scratch. They value that. They don't, they think that canned things are like, they're just not as good. And it's it's a pride, I think, that a lot of Mexicans have in fresh made cooking, which is good because it's healthier. And also the US has more genetically modified, GMO crops like corn and soy.
Mm-hmm.
And not only I think you mentioned that the meat tastes different. So not only do we grow this GMO corn and soy, but we also feed it to the animals. So it actually makes the meat sweeter because corn is sweeter than grass, right? And so if the
Mm-hmm.
cow is eating corn, then the meat is going to taste more like corn than grass, and grass has more of a bitter taste. So some people, like my mom, she grew up in the Philippines, but she came here to America, and then she went back to the Philippines. She said, "Oh, I like the way that American meat tastes better." But I'm like, yeah, but you know what? It's not healthier. It's actually better for you to be eating the meat in the Philippines. And then it affects our gut microbiome, which can also lead to weight gain and digestive problems. And then we also have a lot of toxins in our air, and we spray it on our crops, and even like the food packaging that we use sometimes, or the things that that industry is used to wash the fruits and vegetables are chemicals that we wouldn't use at home if we were just picking the vegetables and and washing it. And yeah, just like you were saying about the food sizes, my husband and I, usually in America, when we go out to eat, we would just share one dish and maybe get like an appetizer or dessert or something, and it would be enough. But when we went to France, we noticed we can't share. Like if we try to share one dish, we're still very hungry. So and when we went to France, we had to order our own meals. And so Americans just eat more food in general.
Yes, yes, the portions are huge. But going back to what you were saying about the hormones, and of course, I mean, a large portion of crops are genetically modified to be more resistant to pests, diseases, and herbicides. In some cases, to improve its nutritional content and adaptability to different growing conditions, but it still has a toll on us.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the animals and the environment.
Exactly. So what I've noticed is also that maybe because of that, and maybe because of the hormones that are added or how processed the food is, um, children, I will say, grow faster and more. Like you see 8-year-old girls, 9-year-old girls who now wear a bra. And I mean, I didn't start wearing a bra until I was like 13, I guess.
Mhm.
uh, or
Starting
boys
their
who,
periods earlier.
exactly,
Yeah.
and boys who look a lot older than they are. One example is when I used to live in Mexico. I started karate for 30 years, and I was part of this team who used to compete internationally. My team members, they were 17 years old, and to me, they looked normal. But whenever they had to compete against Americans who were also 17 years old, they looked so much taller, bigger, stronger. And I think that's part of how we eat it here, how of everything that is added to our foods. As an example, in the 1950s, people were not so big. The other night I was watching this movie that was ambience in the I think 1945, and there was this character who was very big, very muscular, and I was like, people didn't look like that in the 1940s, 1950s, because I guess that food was not like that back
Yeah.
then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's partly genes, it's partly, our ancestry and our DNA, but it's also the food that we're eating, because I know, like in my country, um, I mean, there's some I come from a third world country. There's some malnourishment there that is going on, and that sometimes make people smaller. So, that's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about, when there's no malnourishment, people are eating good diets in both places, but over here, it's not, if they're working out, you can convert that fat into muscle. But if you're not working out, then it just stays. The problem is that it just stays, like just like fat, and it's not good for your health. So if you're going to be eating more, or if you're going to be eating food that makes you fatter, then you should probably work out more,
Lost you,
to
or you
to.
lost me.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was just
It's okay.
saying that. I was just saying that. If you're going to be eating more, or if you're going to be consuming foods that are making you gain more weight, that really means that in order to be healthy, you have to exercise more, and you have to be you have to be more active. And I think, you know, probably with the karate teams that you were facing, they exercised more, so they were not overweight. But I know a lot of Filipinos, when they come here and they come from a family that is slim, and they come here and they don't exercise, you know, they're not in karate or any other kind of sports, they just get chubby, you know, and they start looking like, you know, not like their parents or you know, their ancestors.
Yes. Another thing that I will say is that, well, other than the health impacts that can be like nutritional deficiency, or how a lot of processed foods contain artificial additives, preservatives, high levels of sugar, sodium, unhealthy fats, um, that all those can create health issues like obesity, heart disease, diabetes, even certain cancers. Like my kid, I have a kid, he's 10, and he has some lab results that said that he's high in cholesterol and triglycerides. So I would have never thought that a 10-year-old would have that. But it is related a lot with the kinds of food that we eat. We eat a lot of burgers. We love burgers though. um, but also processed foods are often engineered to be, you know, like the flavors to be stronger
Yeah.
and like, let's say, more delicious, and that may cause for people to overeat. So
Yeah.
this contributes, of course, to the obesity epidemic, um, especially where people when people are very reliant on processed food diets.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna say we don't eat any junk food and processed food, but I do like to limit it, because the more you eat it, the more your taste buds get used to it, and then you lose the ability to enjoy healthy, natural food. So, you know, it's very hard, you know, especially for single mothers, and or if you're working, even if you're not single, but you're working and you have children, then it's really hard to it's a lot of work, you know, to be healthy and cook your own food and things like that. And the restaurant options for healthy food, they're a lot more expensive than the junk food. And even the junk food, even fast food is getting more and more expensive these days. So I don't know. We have to take that time out, you know. It's for our health. And
Mhm.
you may think that you know, it's more expensive to eat healthy, not if you prepare it yourself. And
Right.
then you might think, well, it takes too much time, but it's like, yeah, but you're gonna improve your health, which will give you more energy, and which will give you more time in the end, also a longer lifespan. So
Yes.
it really is better to take that time out just to slow down and take care of our health.
Yes. And other than the health, like you were saying, it has some environmental impacts. Like processed food production relies a lot in monoculture farming, which uh makes the soil, or it makes the soil to lack nutrients. And that also leads to deforestation, and that increases our uh the reliance on chemical fertilizers and pesticides.
Yeah.
Um, and also, for instance, the packaging of processed foods contributes a lot to plastic waste.
Yeah. We're not only hurting our own health, we're
Mhm.
harming our earth, we're harming the
Yes.
animals, we're harming the trees, the plants,
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah.
we're not only hurting ourselves when we make bad choices, we're hurting our world.
Our world, um, even with energy and water usage, and there's also social and economic effects.
Yeah,
So, like,
absolutely.
yeah, like for instance, processed foods are, like you were saying, are thought to be more accessible and affordable than fresh whole foods. Um, so
It's not
Food
really
deserts and
though. It's not really true though. And
no, it's not.
because it's just that people don't want to take the time out because beans and rice are very cheap.
They are very cheap.
So even if you get organic beans and rice, that is still going to be cheaper than getting Taco Bell, for
Exactly.
example. So
Exactly.
it's the time, I think, more even.
Yeah. That's why I was saying that people have the idea that processed foods are more accessible and affordable than fresh and whole foods. Uh, Sometimes that can lead into deserts in low-income areas, which can contribute to health disparities among socioeconomic groups.
Yeah.
And also, uh, piggybacking on what you were saying, of the loss of traditional food cultures,
Yeah.
like regional diets that are healthier and more sustainable are getting lost. This can also affect cultural identity, and
Yeah. When
also
everyone just
even
starts eating burgers all the time
like
and they
me.
lose their native it's like
Yeah.
they're losing a part of themselves, right? Part of their history, part of who they are.
Yeah, they're losing part of their cultural
Yeah.
identity. Um,
But what's hard though is, for me, like my mom, she cooked a lot of food that it's really hard to get those ingredients,
mm,
here in America.
mhm.
And
Lack
when
of,
and then it's imported, which is
yeah,
also not good. And so
it
it's
doesn't
not
taste the same.
local. But there is a way to recreate some of those dishes. Like, for example, my mom used to make this soup called tinola, and then it had this I think it was this vegetable, like a leafy vegetable called saloyot. And it's like there's no saloyot in America, right? So, but I found that spinach was a good, substitute for that. So there's ways that you can still be local, but still
Mhm.
kind of honor your roots, right? Your culture.
Yes, I found that as close as we are from Mexico, I live in Austin, Texas, so I'm like 4 hours away from the border. There's still foods that I cannot find here.
Like what?
And
Oh, like what? Yeah. And is kefir Mexican? Do Mexicans
it's
drink
not
kefir?
Mexican.
Oh,
No,
okay. Okay.
kefir is it's like a yogurt, like a Greek
Yes.
yogurt or like a Bulgarian yogurt. I
Yeah,
don't know how
I
to
think it
describe it.
came from the Middle East, I think.
Yes, I
But I
think
know
so.
that I think Mexicans drink something similar. It's not kefir, it's something else, right? But it's also fermented.
Yes, Bulgarian yogurt maybe.
But in Mexico, is it common? What's common in Mexico? Fermented food common in Mexico.
Well, I would say Bulgarian yogurt.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, well, like I don't know how to say Bulgaros, uh, Bulgarian, Bulgars. I don't know how to say it in English. But it's like a kind of yogurt that we ferment, and we have them evergreen because it's like little. I'm sorry, I don't even know what they are, but
Yeah, little cultures that
little
yeah.
cultures that we ferment and then we eat them and we even share them. Like, oh, I have a lot of
Yes.
these. Who wants
Right.
them? Yeah, yeah.
And is it what's so you call it Bulgaros? Is that what you call it?
Bulgaros. Mhm.
Bulgaros. Okay. And is it a thick drink is it like thick like yogurt, or is it like a drink? Is it like there's this drink that we get sometimes, it's in this little cups, little tiny cups.
The Yakult.
Yeah, Yakult, right.
Yeah, Yakult is very famous in Mexico, and
Okay.
a lot of kids drink it, and a lot of people think that it's healthy, but it actually has a lot of sugar
Yeah, yeah, for
added.
sure.
Yeah. Uh, Bulgaros, when we ferment them, we turn them into yogurt, and it's like a really thin yogurt.
Okay. Is it like drinkable, or
Yeah,
that's drinkable too?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
It could
it's
be
kind of
like
like
a little bit of a kefir.
how
Yes.
does it taste differently from kefir?
Uh, I wouldn't say it tastes a lot very different.
Oh, okay.
It
Okay.
tastes, yeah, similar.
It's just a different name then, sounds
It's
like.
just maybe.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And
Here,
texture.
yes, here in the States, I found this jar of Bulgarian yogurt and it tastes just like that.
Mm,
So I would say maybe they're the same thing, but without the
mhm,
little cultures.
mhm. That's interesting that you call it Bulgaros. And I'm wondering, did it come from Bulgaria to Mexico, or, you know,
I don't know.
or was it just named that because they found that Bulgarians also drink it? Because I'm pretty sure that every culture has their own fermented cuisine, their fermented foods that they eat.
Yeah. Fermented food that we eat. I mean, I would say maybe with la coche. With la coche is like a kind of, I'm gonna say the word mold or like a fungus that grows in corn, and then we cook it and you can eat it.
Mhm.
So I guess that could be a part of fermented.
Yeah.
It sounds disgusting.
It sounds disgusting, but Americans eat blue cheese, and so
Yeah.
it's just
Well,
fermented. Bacteria is actually good for us. It just has to be the right kind of bacteria that we want, not the
yeah.
bad bacteria that we don't want.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much for speaking with me today. I never met someone before that said, you know what, when I used to eat my food in Mexico, I felt one way, but then when I started eating American food, the same kind of food, just in America, I started feeling heavy and thick and bloated. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I've never heard anyone say that before. So that's why I really wanted to. And then, yeah, I mean, that's no joke, 20 pounds in 10 months. That's, and,
It
and
was a
then, and
lot.
then when you went back to Mexico, you know, it went back. You went back also to your normal state, right? You started feeling better and and less
Yes.
heavy and things like
My
that. So,
and my brain was less foggy
mm,
and like it was like a whole change.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that part is because of the it might be because of the mineral. It could be because of the added chemicals, but it could also be a mineral deficiency in some of our crops in America, which is why it's so important to buy organic.
Mhm.
When things are organic and free of pesticides and non-GMO, it also
Yeah.
means it's going to be more nutritious, because they have
Yeah.
better farming practices.
Even also with the added sugars, like for instance, I love burgers. And I've had my weeks where I go and get my burgers and I love tacos and I go get my tacos and I love ice cream. Like I love food. But when I eat that for a long period of time, like my brain, oh, I'm gonna
But
share this with you. Oh,
okay,
sorry.
no, go
Well,
ahead. I was just gonna say what kind of burgers, like, because you can be eating McDonald's
fast food
burgers.
burgers, like
Okay, so
McDonald's
all
burgers
right,
or restaurant burgers or like
okay.
eating at a restaurant. I mean, they also
That's
use
the
techniques
problem because
for
you can
for
have a healthy burger.
at home, yes. But if I
Yes.
go out and I go to a restaurant and I get a burger or whatever food, restaurants make your food they add a lot of fat because fat makes food taste better. Uh,
And they're
so
using poor quality meat.
yes. So
Bad
two things.
fat, poor quality meat.
Yes. So two things. 20 years ago, I came to Texas to train for a month and I was eating Wendy's almost every day. Wendy's, Schlotzsky's, like that's what I was getting fed with because that was my option.
Yeah.
And I went back to Mexico City and I started to be very depressed. And we didn't know what happened. We didn't know why I was just like, I could not stop crying. And I went to the psychiatrist and I was in Lexapro for a while because of that. But we realized that it was because of the kind of food that I was eating.
Hmm.
That was the kind of food that my brain was getting fed with because the brain likes sugar. Like sugar to the brain is like a drug. Like, oh my gosh, give me more of that. And whenever I stopped giving my brain that, my brain started to get into a depression mode. Like, oh, why are you not treating me
It was
well
a
like you were
sugar
doing?
crash.
It was, well, a lot of
You
the
were
food, like,
addicted to sugar.
I was addicted to sugar. And our brain works with this different chemicals, serotonin, dopamine, uh, therefore, and also with cortisol. So whenever I was not giving it the dopamine hit of eating my burger, it started to produce cortisol. And then,
So this is what you figured out with your psychiatrist?
yes,
That
20
sounds
years
like a
ago.
great psychiatrist. There's a lot of psychiatrists that will go into nutrition like that. I love that, there's a lot more holistic. It seems to me that there's a lot more holistic minded medical professionals in Mexico. In fact, a lot of times, medical doctors here, if they want to practice holistic medicine freely, they go to Mexico to open up a clinic, because over here they might get shut down because it's not approved, the things that they're doing by the FDA, AMA, etc.
Yeah, I will say that the medical system here, the health system here is very different, and I still have some issues navigating it. I can't understand it yet, but it's super different. And then another thing that I was going to share with you, when I go out into restaurants and eat my burgers and my tacos and whatever I like for like, I don't know, a couple days in a row or a week, my brain starts get foggy. I feel bloated. I feel fat. I feel heavy. And I go back to eating whole foods. Like I go to the supermarket and I just get like broccoli, and like I drink my water, and I just do a reset. I don't need to fast. I just need to make a reset, and my body immediately feels better.
Yeah. You don't need to fast from food. You just need to fast from junk food.
Mm-hmm. You can,
Yeah.
it's okay to go and get your fast food every now and then, like one cheat meal a week. Okay, cool. But like every day,
Every day. Yeah.
it's not okay. So
Because your body needs
solutions.
to recover from the cheat meal.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I used to do a cheat meal a day, and my personal trainer was like, "Oh no, girl, that's
A
why you're not
day.
dropping pounds." Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, I thought it was a cheat meal a day." But anyways, some possible solutions for everything that we've been talking about, if I can share with you, is like
Yeah.
some education and awareness to understand food labels and to choose less processed whole foods can improve with health. And then maybe even policy changes, like advocating for policies that reduce the presence of harmful ingredients in the processed foods, like trans fats or excess sugars. And they also, and to incentivize companies to produce healthier options, and also to support local agriculture, like
Yeah.
just promote local and sustainable farming practices. That will help reduce the environmental impact of food production and bring fresher and less processed foods to consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all important. And I think that the way to sway companies and even the government to establish these things is to start choosing and voting with our money right now on the healthier things. And I would also like to say that it's, I don't I don't think it's the hamburgers per se, because I think there's a healthy way to eat hamburgers, and
Yeah.
me personally, I actually I also feel, so I practice a version of the carnivore diet. I call it the Aruka carnivore diet, and it's based on Dr. Paul Saladino's. He's a doctor, and he
I lost
promotes.
you again.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and keep talking for the live stream though. He promotes a carnivore diet, and when I eat good quality meat and just a little bit of carbs and some maybe some fresh fruit, I feel really, really good, even though I'm eating a lot of meat. And it's not the meat, that makes us unhealthy. It's the what kind of meat are you eating, and how is it cooked, how is it prepared, how is it processed. And so when I start eating the junk food, even if it has little meat, whether it has meat or not, that's not really the issue. That's not what makes me feel bad. It's the fact that it's junk food. It's the fact that it's filled with bad fats, chemicals, it's genetically modified, maybe has chemicals and herbicides and pesticides. And that's what makes me, or, lots of sugar and carbs. And that's what makes me feel bloated and things. It's the amount of food that we're eating and the quality of food we're eating and what the ingredients are and how it's cooked. It's not,
Yes.
it's not meat or even bread. Even bread in America is so different from bread in Europe, for example. The bread in America, standardly, they add bromide, which is a toxin, and the kind of wheat that we have here, just the breed, it is harder on our digestive system, and it's not the same kind of wheat that they eat in Europe. And so there's some people who are American and they have to be gluten-free here in America, but when they're but when they go to Europe, they can eat the gluten products because the gluten Europe is cleaner, it's
Yes.
healthier than the gluten here.
Yes. And I'm going to touch on a point that you mentioned. It's not only to eat better foods, but also to, I will say, to know your body.
Mm. Yeah, because some people do really good with some people do really good with the keto diet.
Mhm.
I can't do keto diet, but some people do it. And actually it's a treatment for excuse me, epileptic seizures. I think it was the John Hopkins University or hospital, the John Hopkins Foundation, that found that the keto diet is a natural way to reduce or even eliminate seizures.
Mhm.
But I don't know that that's good for long term, and it certainly doesn't mean that everyone should get on the keto diet. Everybody is different, and so bio individuality is very important when trying to look for the optimal diet. I don't believe in these fads where it's like, oh, everyone should be vegan or everyone should be carnivore, everyone should be keto, or those are very dangerous because we're all different and we all need different things at different times in our lives. Sometimes people thrive on a vegetarian diet and then later on their lives they need to eat more meat, or vice
Mhm.
versa. Sometimes they eat a lot of meat and they need to cleanse with a vegetarian or vegan diet. It all
Yeah.
depends on the person.
Yeah, it's important to listen to our body and to pay attention to how different foods make us feel. Like, do certain foods make me feel sluggish or bloated or energized? Because our body sends the signals when something isn't right. And then to also understand our hunger, to learn the difference between real hunger and emotional eating.
Yeah, it's so
And
good to wait until you actually feel hungry
yeah, or
before you
yeah,
eat.
yeah, or sometimes we eat because we're bored or sad or stressed, just to
Yeah.
listen to our body's natural hunger. And sometimes we think that we're hungry, but in reality, we're just thirsty.
Yes, that's also very important.
Yeah,
Definitely. Okay, well, thank
but
you
I'm
so
very good at
much
it.
for taking the time to talk to me. Do you have any closing thoughts before we go?
No, thank you so much for having me in having this conversation. I never speak about this with anybody.
Yeah. I think people do need to talk about this kind of stuff more so that we can raise awareness and talk about, how food makes us feel. And I think doing that with friends and family will help us all become healthier and happier and
Mhm.
more energetic and less brain fog.
Yes.
So, all right, cool. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Algar and I am the host of Expertise TV, and I'm very excited to be introducing you to our guest today, Mayim Vega. Now, Mayim Vega is a former NASA computer scientist turned holistic healer after facing a very personal health crisis, which the modern medical system could not resolve. In 2009, she founded Aruka.com, which offers an holistic healer certification program focusing on three pillars: naturopathic herbalism, holistic life coaching, and online business and marketing to empower people to become holistic healers and achieve maximum impact in the world. Mayim combines her scientific background, natural healing methods, and faith in the creator and great physician to guide others on a path to personal and professional well-being. Mayim, it's clear that you are very passionate about the topic of holistic health and particularly helping people who are wanting to transition into this approach. How did you find yourself in this line of work, and why is this work so important to you?
Thank you, Ashley, for taking the time to speak with me. And I'd love to answer that question. So, the way I found myself in this line of work starts with my story of when I transitioned from becoming a computer scientist at the NASA Ames Research Center to becoming an entrepreneur and building my first online business in digital marketing. And the reason why I did that is so that I could stay at home and be with my newly born son at the time. And now I have 7 children of my own, and I always wanted to homeschool them and just be there for them. And so that's why I became an entrepreneur. But my first my first few years as an entrepreneur was extremely difficult. And I thought it was healthy, but later on, after all my studies, I realized there were a lot of things that I was doing that was not very healthy. They were not very healthy habits that I had. And what ended up happening was I got really sick and I thought I was on my deathbed. And I was rushed to the emergency room. And the doctor actually thought that I had a brain tumor. But after extensive testing and examination, she told me that there was nothing wrong with me. I just, I was experiencing a lot of pain, but they had nothing for me. There was nothing they could do for me. She said that she could give me some really strong painkillers, but that's really it. She couldn't really get rid of the problem. And so I took the painkillers, but again, painkillers and any pharmaceutical drug never address the root cause of illness and disease. And that's exactly why this line of work is so important to me and why I went on my own personal journey to become a holistic healer, to study nutrition, herbalism, holistic health, and holistic life coaching, is because we all know people, and probably even ourselves, who, just like me, went to the modern medical system because that's the expected thing to do. That's a normal thing to do. And, tried to get health and healing that way, but hit a dead end, hit a brick wall, and we either got medications that didn't work or that only worked for a while, or that caused side effects that were so terrible that we had to get on other medications, plural, and maybe even the medication or medications caused side effects that caused other health issues. And sometimes the health issues are worse than the first problem that you originally had. And we're on this ridiculous roller coaster of drug after drug, after treatment, after procedure, because the modern medical system never addresses the root cause. And medical professionals who have woken up know this. And that's why I have medical professionals in my program, including, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, medical technicians, etc., who are learning from me, who are, taking the certification program because they realize that our system is broken and we need to fix it. It is our destiny as humanity to overcome all this nonsense, really. We can do better and we will do better. I know it. And that's why, in my certification program, sometimes I joke around. No, it's not really a joke, but I say, I'm empowering not just holistic healers, but holistic warriors. We're in a battle. We're in a battle over our own health and healing to safeguard and protect that, and that of our families and friends and community, of course, as well. And we're also in a battle against very powerful people who, because of profits, like to suppress holistic health and healing truths to keep us just sick enough so that we need something, pharmaceuticals, but not well enough to ever get off them. That is truly the goal of big pharma, of the pharmaceutical industry. It's not true. They don't want to heal us. They don't want to cure us. They want to keep us just sick enough so that we keep giving them our money. And you know what? Me personally, I have better things to spend with my money, like on good food, clean herbs, things that don't cause these ridiculous side effects that we experience with pharmaceutical drugs.
Thank you, Mayim. So that brings me to my next question. What are some of the key benefits of transitioning from the conventional healing approach to a holistic approach in health and healing?
Okay, so that's another really great and important question. The key benefits of transitioning from conventional healing to a holistic approach are, right now, I can think of three main reasons. Number one, The holistic approach is safer. Number two, the holistic approach is more effective. And number three, the holistic approach is the true approach that gets to the root cause. Okay. Now, I'd like to illustrate the first point, the safety of holistic medicine. If someone who was taking some, let's say blood pressure medication or something like that, visited me at my house, let's say I invited them over for dinner, and let's say they had to take some of their medicine and they dropped one of their pills, right, in my dining room or in my living room floor. Now, I have very small children. I have a 4-year-old. And what if my 4-year-old found that pill on the floor and thought it was candy or something like that and put it in her mouth and ate it? What would happen? I would immediately have to call the poison control center to get that pill out of her system, because those pills can have deadly side effects. But what if someone dropped a vitamin C pill or a tincture, and one of my children found it? For the most part, if they found it and took it, they might have a little diarrhea. It might be really spicy on their tongue, and so they would stop taking it. But no, I wouldn't have to control the poison control center, because vitamins and herbs and minerals are extremely, like 1,000 times safer than pharmaceutical drugs. There's a few types of, supplements that you might have to call the poison control center, but for the most part, no, you won't have to do that, because our body knows how to work with those substances. It is not a drug. It is a healing tool. Okay. So completely safe. Also, exercise, diet, those are all safe, right? Sleep, those are all part of holistic health and healing. Completely safe, zero side effects. Now, let's talk about the effectiveness. The holistic approach is more effective. And the reason why we know this is because in my practice, and this is the experience of many holistic healers, when it comes to the conventional ways with the pharmaceutical drugs, as I said before, they don't deal with the root cause. They just mask symptoms. So, you might take a cough suppressant, let's say, for example, but if you are not dealing with the root cause, why are you coughing in the first place? Why do you have allergies? Why do you have the flu, etc.? Why is your immune system not strong enough to overcome this in just a few hours or just a day or two, overnight? Why? Because you have not built up your immune system. You haven't boosted it or lived the kind of life that you need to in order to avoid those common illnesses altogether. I have one of my students is a medical doctor, and she said that she used to take anti-allergy drugs every single week because of her allergies. The allergy drugs don't boost your immune system. They just suppress it. They just oppress your allergy symptoms. But when you have allergy symptoms, it's your body talking to you and telling you, hey, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this thing that you're eating or this environment that you've just stepped into because of my state of being. I'm not strong enough. That's what your immune system is saying to you. But I taught her a really powerful vitamin protocol that actually boosts your immune system so that your immune system is strong enough to overcome allergies. And so that's the difference. It is effective because it is true. It is true holistic health and healing because it strengthens your immune system. It doesn't silence it, like I said before. And the third issue is the root cause. Holistic health and healing deals with the root cause, and the conventional approach of drugs and surgery, etc., does not. That doesn't mean that you sometimes don't need surgery, for example, or in an emergency situation need a drug, but you're not dealing with the root cause. And if you deal with the root cause, you can make your problems either go away or become extremely minimal, safely, effectively, and naturally without poisoning your body and causing the roller coaster of side effects.
Mayim, you have developed an incredible program that you've already mentioned called the Aruka Holistic Healer Certification Program, which you have specifically created for those looking to either transition into the holistic approach or for those who are wanting to grow in their knowledge and practice. Can you talk us through what differentiates this program from other similar programs that are currently out there?
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, the certification program at Arukah.com is really, truly incredible. And there's a few things that set it apart, actually, many things, but I'd like to focus on a few. And one of them is that when I designed the program, I designed it for someone who was in my situation many years ago, someone who was a busy mom who had a lot of work to do and a lot of things on her plate, but still wanted to empower herself with the knowledge of holistic health and healing for herself, for her family, so she could take care of her family, and maybe even build a career where, very specifically, she could stay at home and, just like me, be a stay-at-home mom. And, even a homeschool mom. I've been a homeschool mom. My oldest is 20 now, and I homeschooled him the whole way. And he's already graduated college, and he's got a computer science degree, and he's an entrepreneur himself. I instilled that dream in him. So being able to, I was able to surpass my income at NASA, and still homeschool my children. It's pretty awesome achievement. And so I wanted to empower people in my program to do exactly the same as I've done, to become a holistic healer, to have a successful online business so that they can have time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, meaning that there's no glass ceiling. No one who you need to get a raise from. You just have to help people. That's how I get paid, is when I help people, right? And so that's one of the advantages. Another advantage is it's very hands-on and apprenticeship based. And you could go to a college to study to become a naturopathic doctor, or another holistic professional like a chiropractor. But it's going to take a lot more money, and a lot more time as well. This program can be completed in 1 year, but because all of my students pretty much are busy professionals already, or busy moms, it's self-paced. So if you have a lot of things on your plate, it's okay. It's still going to be there for you. There's not like a time limit. You're not going to, your grade's not going to be lowered because you submit an assignment late or anything like that. It's self-paced. And so I've designed it for the busy mom, or the working woman. And another thing that sets it apart is we have three core pillars in our program. One is that our students study naturopathic herbalism. And that takes up the bulk of our program. And naturopathic herbalism includes studying the foundations of holistic health and healing, identifying toxins and detoxification, also nutrition and orthomolecular nutrition, or megadose vitamin therapy, as well as herbalism, which includes also homeopathy and aromatherapy with essential oils. And also they study Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine. But it's mostly focused on Western medicine, Western herbalism, excuse me. And then the next core pillar, the second one, is holistic life coaching. And the reason why holistic life coaching is part of the program is to incorporate the mind spirit aspect of it, right? If herbs and supplements are the alternative to pharmaceutical drugs, well, holistic life coaching is like the holistic alternative to psychiatry. it deals with the mind and the spirit, and spirit has to be part of it because we are spiritual beings. We're not just physical beings. We're also spiritual beings. Now, a lot of holistic health and healing schools are based on, different religions, New Age, or, other pagan religions. And this program, because I'm Jewish, is based on the Creator. It's based on the Bible and biblical principles, Judeo-Christian principles. And so therefore I have a lot of people who are of that faith persuasion, Jews, Christians, or people who maybe, they don't really identify as Jewish or Christian, but they're open to it, or they grew up in that faith, and they don't necessarily want all the new age spirituality. They want the kind of spirituality that they are comfortable with and used to. That's another thing that sets us apart. And life coaching is all about mindset and how to have healthy relationships with yourself, with others. Of course, also, with food and your body and lifestyle. Holistic life coaching encompasses all of that. And it's a very important part of holistic health and healing, especially because stress is often the root cause of many illnesses, common illnesses, and also chronic diseases. So, that mind and spirit aspect is very important. And the third aspect is online business marketing. And again, the reason why that's important is because, as I told you, I really want my students to thrive and to be able to, have that time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, which an online business provides. But also because, there's not a lot of jobs for herbalists, or life coaches even. And so we really have to be entrepreneurial. And it's very, very rewarding. And because of my background, with my digital marketing business, my first business, I can really help people in that department.
Thanks so much, Mayim. So I love the power of testimony and hearing people's personal experiences or journeys. Can you share some of the success stories that might be coming to mind or testimonials from past students?
Yes, we certainly have a lot of success stories and testimonials, and we'll show some of those testimonials at the end of our talk today in this video. But I could talk about a few of them that are maybe recent. One of them is one of my students. She told me that she wanted to become a nutritionist, but I guess her life's journey didn't really allow for that. So when she heard about my program, my certification program, when it first launched, she joined, and she really wanted to help her husband, who had been suffering from colitis under the care of doctors for about 20 years, ever since he was in the military. And he was going from medication to medication and, suffering with diarrhea and insomnia and restless legs and indigestion and, all these terrible things that colitis can cause. And so I actually created a custom module for her to help her husband with that. And in 2 months, she helped her husband get off the medication and heal from colitis using food and herbs and natural holistic healing methods. So that was a great accomplishment for her. And, I get people, contacting me saying that I helped them grow their hair back, or actually someone said, oh, you helped save a little girl's life, just beautiful, wonderful things like that. You helped me heal my daughter, you helped me grow, regrow my teeth so I don't have pain from cavities anymore, like just all these wonderful testimonies. And that's the reason why I love doing what I do. And, and you will too, if you join the program. It's so rewarding and fulfilling to understand and to know that you are helping people, truly helping people. in ways that they can't get in the modern medical system. It's so rewarding.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mayim. I can only imagine the sense of reward when people start applying these principles to their lives and actually see a change and transformation. And for somebody as passionate as you are around this topic, to witness that and to be a part of that, I imagine that the reward is priceless. Another common question that arises is, once someone completes the program, what are some of the practical steps one would take in order to start a successful career in holistic health?
Okay, that's a great question. And that's actually what the third pillar of our program is all about is, what do you do? Practical steps on what you would do to start a successful career in holistic health. And in that program, we teach our students how to create a high ticket transformational health coaching program that really helps people deal with a serious problem, a serious health issue. And that doesn't mean that it's a deadly, problem, but it can be something that really affects their life, right? Even skin disorders can really affect your life, right? Even though it's not necessarily deadly. Weight loss could be something that is dealing with a serious issue. There's so many different types of health coaching programs that one can make, anxiety, depression, hormonal issues, etc. So they build, and it's part of the program. They will do this while they're still in the program, and we'll support them the whole way. Is to build that first high ticket health coaching program, and then set up their online assets such as their website, their social media, a video sales letter, press releases, podcasts, all those things that online entrepreneurs need in order to connect with people, get their message of health and healing out there, and build and grow and scale their business.
Thank you so much, Mayim. It's been so great talking with you today. But before we close, for those that would like to get started on the journey to becoming an holistic healer and wanting to learn a little bit more about the certification program, how do they go about contacting you?
Yes, it's been wonderful talking to you today as well. And for all those who would like to get started on their journey to become a holistic healer and learn more about the certification program, all they need to do is visit the website, www.arukah.com, ARUKAH.com, and dig into that and schedule a discovery call. And I would love to be your mentor, your health coach, your teacher in guiding you to become a holistic healer, to become the healer of your home and your family and your community, and to help you build a profitable online health coaching business.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Mayim. So there we have it, folks. If you are ready to move forward in your own journey of becoming a holistic healer, then you can visit the website at www.arukah.com, where you can schedule your first discovery call. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.